What's up, guys? What's going on? I'm Paul. This is Pauline Theology's Daily Devotional, man. We're going through the book of John. I'm glad you're here. Glad you're listening. This is Trust in Jesus Ministries. What we do here is help you to trust in Jesus more every day, whether it's for the first time, for salvation, where you give yourself over to the King and see how amazing he is, or if you've already given yourself to the King, but daily you're seeking to trust him more with every other aspect of your life. That's what we want to do here. And I hope that I'm helping you do this. The way that we do this is through scripture reading. We get to know Jesus more because we read the scriptures and he tells us who he is. It's been a blessing to go through John, man. And I hope that if you haven't started out with us, that you'd go back and you check out the other episodes. But if you've been following with us the whole time, man, let me know how blessed you are from knowing more about who Jesus is. Because Jesus is so amazing, man, that you are gravitated towards him because of his character, his nature, his goodness, his love. It's quite an amazing thing to get to know him, man. So, yeah, let me know how you how things have been going as you've been knowing him further, as you've been learning about him. As it says, learn of Jesus, is what Paul says. Learn of Jesus. Anyway, we're in John chapter 19, verse 28. 28. If you haven't read it yet, stop the tape, check it out, see what it has to say. If you have, hey, let's jump into it, man. So what's going on? We're on the death of Jesus. This is actually now about to be the finality of the death, because Jesus says here, after he's taken care of his family, after he has carried the cross, after he has been nailed and thrown into the ground, now he says this. He says, knowing that all things are completed, or all things are finished. It says that to fulfill the scriptures, he says, I thirst. And what's unique about this is that John is using a verb to mean fulfilled or completed more naturally, that he uses differently than he does in all the other times that he talks about fulfilling scripture. He uses a word telestai for this particular instance when he uses, I believe the other word is plenera. And so what I think John is doing in the usage of this word is he's explaining to people that Jesus is completed the journey that he has been called to do on this planet. Not so much as in fulfilled, because telestai also means fulfill, but it's more as in to say he has completed or perfected the job that God had called him to do as a missionary to this world. That his suffering and his life of demonstrating who the Father is, and then finally his death that's about to occur, that is the reason for Jesus coming. And knowing that the reason, his purpose on this planet, has come to an end as he is about to die. And so what also is amazing is the fact that it says, knowing this, he does something so that scripture could be fulfilled. Even in his death, as he walks and as he suffers and as he lives and as he dies, Jesus is doing all that the Father requires of him. Following the Father in every aspect of his life and death. We read about the soldiers and the soldiers, how they fulfill the scriptures. It says this is what they did because this is what God had called them to do. But Jesus in particular is so different, so in tune, so innatured with the Father, that he does things because it is the Father's will. Not to say that he wasn't thirsty, because he has been hanging on this cross for hours, been beaten and broken and bloodied. Of course he's thirsty. But at the same time, Jesus understands and knows that it is not only his natural thirst as a human being, but also something that occurs in order that he might prove that he is the Messiah, the Christ, the one who has come to narrate and demonstrate who the Father is. Yes, that's amazing, man. And so I could jump into application which is to say that that's how we're supposed to be living, how we living. You know what I mean? Are we only in line with the sovereign will of God because you have to be, or are you actively participating in his what some would call his desired will? Is that what you're doing? You walking in the path because you desire to walk in the path, or are you just in the path because that's just what happens? So what does the scripture say about Jesus, though? What does the scripture say about God? Well, it says that even in what we think is not in control, Jesus being crucified, being murdered on a cross, he is in control. He is in sovereign control over all things. That's what this shows. And it also shows that Jesus is undeniably the image of the invisible God, because he is doing all that is the Father's will. Anything that he does is representative of the Father and his desire for him in this world. What's to say about man? I think what it says is that we should be, because taking the image of Jesus, is that we should be walking every moment of our lives for the glory and honor and will of the Father. Taking an example from Jesus, who is the ultimate human, we must follow God. And the reason I could say this ultimate human thing, is because Jesus is clearly human being as he is being murdered on this cross, and he says, I thirst. I thirst. So as humans, man, we need to be following God in every aspect. How do we apply these truths to our lives? Well, I think knowing that God is sovereign and in control of all things, even in the chaos of this world, then we should trust him in that, man, and seek to do his will, just as Jesus is relying on the sovereign will of God in a situation that seems to be far from what God desires. He trusts that this is the thing that God has for him in his life. And that's why he could say that knowing that he has fulfilled or completed everything that the Father has requested of him, then he can die. And with his death is the completion of all those things. So for us, that is the same way. Understanding and knowing that God has a sovereign will and is in control of everything, we should follow humbly under that will. And so the question is that what we're doing? I've already talked about the application, but we're going to say it one more time. Are you following in every aspect of your life to do the desired will of the Father? I appreciate you guys for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.